Okay, so this picture is actually of Sikhs in Afghanistan who were targeted by the Islamic extremists, ISIS, and so about I think it was 19 people were killed in a terrorist attack. Obviously, it was a suicide bomber, and the Sikhs were going to meet the Afghan president, and they were deliberately targeted. Which is sad. What you have to understand is that in Afghanistan, there used to be a huge Sikh and Hindu population. I mean, if you look at the geography, Punjab, big up Punjab, my homeland here. Obviously, I love the UK as well, but this is where my people are from and the place that I love. And so Afghanistan is over here. It's not that much of a distance. You can see India is huge, so I would talk about my issue with United India like this because I never thought it should be one country because someone from down here is totally different from someone up here. We have nothing in common. Even language is different, everything is different. So I'll talk about it in another video. But you can see it's not that much of a distance, and so there's been trade and kind of travels to and from. Sikhs have a long history of going to and from. At one point under Maharaja Ranjit Singh, he'd conquered this whole area up to Afghanistan, which is an incredible achievement. Big up Maharaja Ranjit Singh and Hari Singh Nalawal and all of those guys who managed to, like I said, the best way to beat your oppressors is to be better than them. And I better get away from this kind of stuff. But it's true, like Sikhs were being persecuted and they were under the thumb of the Islamic rule. By the time it hit the 1800s, they were ruling over the majority population of Muslims. With only a 15% population, the rest are around 70% Muslims. So there's always been a kind of a tension. You can see Pakistan here as well. So what's happened is that basically the country started off with quite a lot. I mean, at one point it was actually Buddhist and Hindu before the Islamic conquerors come in and totally converted it. And I think in the 1990s, before the Russian invasion, there was probably around I think around 250,000 Sikhs and Hindus combined. And as of today, there's only 1,000. So think about that. As of today, there is only 1,000 Sikhs and Hindus left in Afghanistan. Obviously, they'll be living in particular areas altogether, and that's very, very significant. If you think about the reasons why, I mean, you can blame the Russian invasion. Yeah, I can understand why people would move from that. But there's also a bigger problem with Islamic extremism, which once the Russians left, the Taliban obviously came in and uh, filled that vortex. And before I go on, if I say anything wrong, I apologise. So if there's any Afghan Sikhs in there, I would like them to correct me because I'm still trying to learn myself about this, my Sikh brothers' plight in Afghanistan. And I'm going to be there on Sunday at Speaker's Corner. I'd love to speak about this topic on Sunday. So please, if there's anyone knowledgeable about Afghanistan and the Sikhs, please come to Speaker's Corner and I'll take my time out to speak to you. I'd really like to kind of get this on camera and really talk about this topic. And so obviously when the Taliban come through, they actually did something that, a lot of people, I always say that Islamic extremism is very similar to Nazism in the sense that there's a kind of, we are the best people and the kuffars are the Untermenschen, whatever that's, I like saying, I love saying German words and Arabic words. Like, mushrikeen, which is from, I think, they're just, and the German words are great, is all Untermenschen. They have a very similar kind of guttural sound to them, yeah? And so they used to make the Sikhs and the Hindus wear yellow armbands. What does that remind you of? Nazi Germany, with the armbands. So there's a very similarity about the dhimmis, the people that are oppressed under that rule. Now, the one thing that people do say under Taliban rule, there was a lot of the kind of in the beginning, from what I understand, that law and order was restored, and so people kind of say, oh, when you come from an occupation and war, anything's better. So the Taliban just seemed like a better kind of like a substitute for war, but in reality they were just a barbaric, backwards. Uh, bunch of people. They're just crazy. And so they used to have to wear armbands. Certain religious practices were banned, like cremation and all of this kind of stuff. So you can understand that it's a very repressive life to be living under strict Islamic rule. I'm not talking about Muslim rule, I'm talking about Islamic rule when it becomes very strict. And there's a kind of a Sharia base there, because obviously the Sharia, especially the kind of jizya and stuff, is supposed to demean the people of the book. But if you're not a person of the book, like the Dharmic faiths like Hinduism, thinking it's on a level of crazy. Like they do not see you as humans. And so you have situations where India was butchered for 800 years, and over 150 million people murdered. Now this guy here, sorry about the reflection, Avtar Singh Khalsa, he was one of the people that was murdered. He was actually a prominent politician that was going to be going into the Afghan parliament, and he was going to be kind of making, fighting for the rights of the Sikhs and Hindus. So obviously they targeted him on purpose, and you can see the kind of Sikh community has been, injured, and a lot of people have been killed. And so, Sikhs obviously going from 250,000 down to just 1,000 is a massive disaster in terms of the population. We do have very important Gurdwara and stuff in that area, temples, and so it's going to be hard for Sikhs to leave completely, because people need to look after those temples and stuff. But India is offering asylum to the Sikhs. A lot of them are saying they're not going to leave because that's their homeland, and that screw the Islamic terrorists, we're going to stick to our ground. That's the Sikh philosophy anyway, in terms of we don't believe in running away and being scared. And so obviously it's a very, very, very difficult situation for the Sikhs. There's a lot of Afghan Sikhs actually in Southall now, and they've been leaving for years and years and years. And for people, I mean, I'm not going to blame Muslims, obviously, because it's not their fault overall. But there is a problem when Islam becomes very extreme. It can be very, 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 very detrimental to minorities that are not part of that faith. And actually, even it can be very oppressive to the people of that faith as well. I mean, obviously in Afghanistan, they've killed thousands or millions of their own as well. ISIS and all those kind of guys. I'd love to get my hands on ISIS. I swear to God, I'd love to be flown out there. Who wants to fund me to go to Syria and do some and win and destroy ISIS? A one-man army going down there, just trolling them non-stop. Probably kill them with my humour, if I'm being honest with you. They won't understand it. So yeah, it's a very, 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 very difficult situation in Afghanistan at the moment. I hope to kind of highlight the plight of the Sikhs through Speaker's Corner and through some videos. Probably not the best person, just because of my reputation. I'm not kind of the most liked person. But as you can see, I mean, one of the things that I've been reading is that it was kind of like a planned attack, and maybe the government was not in cahoots, but sometimes people let something happen, which is just as bad as actually participating. So some people just turn a blind eye and say, all right, whatever happens, happens. And there's some rumors about that. Whether that's true, we'll find out in the next couple of weeks, how complicit people were within that terrorist attack. Remember, to a community of only 1,000, 19 people died. 2 of them were Muslims, and 17 of them were from the minority group, Hindu, majority Sikh. Imagine that. You just got 1,000 people in the whole of a country, and you've lost 17 members of that, and so that's a massive loss to your community. I know within the Sikh community, or the Afghan Sikh community in London, a lot of people will be affected, especially within Southall. So my condolences to my Sikh brothers. Hopefully I can highlight their plight. Maybe I should do a piece of artwork for it. I've already done a piece of artwork anyway on Afghanistan. I don't want to gloat too much, but I'll show you the video. I'll show you the thing anyway. Remember, in Afghanistan, Sikhs have had a history in Afghanistan anyway. And so this is Batla Sarangari. 21 Sikhs that fall what was it, 10,000 Afghans in 1897, and so they were surrounded on a hill. And this is the drawing that I've done, which is actually up in Sandhurst Military Academy. It's a drawing of the Sikh soldiers, and 21 Sikhs fought 10,000 Afghans. And guess what? Guess what? Guess what happened? Uh, let's just see. Well, guess what happened, guys? Let's see. They all died as sacrificed their lives, but guess what? They took out over 300 plus Afghan Mujahideen. These guys. So big up to the Sikhs. We're not about numbers. We don't need 1.8 billion. As long as we've got a couple of million, we're fine, man. We can look after ourselves. We're like one-man armies, all of us. And so the Battle of Serengeti probably still annoys them up, Afghanistan, but that doesn't mean, you know, we should be persecuted and stuff. You know, a lot of these Sikhs there see themselves as Afghans, even though they will probably come from the Punjab. Well, not probably, they most definitely did come from the Punjab at some point. They would have come from here and then travelled over to Afghanistan. And so, yeah, I will be highlighting that. I am doing other stuff as well. It's going to be by Jagraj Singh's commemoration. I'm starting a portrait for him. And I'm going to do it because I'll talk about it more afterwards, but I've always respected that guy utmost. And he passed away last year on the 20th. So I am actually starting a portrait. This is how I start. Just do the pencil outline. And then you'll start seeing me kind of drawing it in. Not sure how much of the process people want to see. It's hard for me to draw with one hand, so I have to hold the camera in one hand and draw if I'm recording, which is very problematic, so I need to buy myself some equipment. So I will be doing that over the next few days. Still got to finish this, which is a massive, still a big drawing that I need to complete, and I've got a lot of stuff going on in terms of exhibitions and all of that kind of stuff coming up next week. So I've got a lot of things going on. About the particular comment about, you know, someone sending that lewd comment to the temple, you know, about, you know, contacting the female congregation about porn at a Sikh temple, completely despicable. People, one thing I find really kind of like nauseating is the kind of like people saying, "Oh, you deserve it, Raj." You provoke them, a bit like, you know, how women provoke Muslim men into raping them. You know, Pakistani, well, Asian Muslims, you know, up north, because they're not wearing much. They think, all right, they provoke them. Even people like Saeed, you know, that Saeed who I say is a right guy. He's not an alright guy. He's the biggest hypocrite I've met as well. So I showed him the particular comment about contacting, and nothing. Nothing. He's silent, and the only thing he does say is that, Raj, what's in that little folder in the corner? I mean, when I showed him this, he didn't go, "Oh, that's really bad." He just went into the, "Oh, Raj, I'm really concerned about that little picture in the corner. Remember this pic of me?" That's what he's more concerned about rather than this. So, you know, I'm going to say something to you, Saeed. One of the reasons why a lot of people have problems with Muslims in general is that we see a massive hypocrisy in terms of the way you treat your own people and you treat others. You know, obviously you see us all as kafars, and so, you know, you're the best of people. Remember, that kind of ties into the treatment of non-Muslims in Islamic countries, because you see yourself as a kind of like Nazi Germany. You see yourself as a kind of the Aryans, or the Nazi Germans saw themselves as the Aryans, and the Muslims see themselves as the best of people. And you're not the best of people. I can tell you that straight now. Nearly all human beings have flaws, and obviously I have my own flaws as well. One thing I proved, I'm not gay. I don't know if Saeed is though, because he's shocked that I've got. I'm not saying I have. It's got to be, the burden of proof has got to be on the people accusing. I've got 40 plus folders. If I've got one or two pictures with nude ladies in there, I'm not saying whether I have or I haven't. I don't agree with that, but at the end of the day, you know, men are men. We're flawed and individuals who, you know, sometimes know something's wrong, but sometimes people still do stuff. And so, Yeah, let's see how many. So far, I haven't got any Muslims condemning this particular incident. Let's see how long it takes before someone from the Muslim community will condemn it outright. So far, it's just been Raj, you deserve it. You provoked them, like you know the way girls getting groomed are provoked. The men provoke them with their clothing and stuff. Same situation. I provoked them, so uh, Sikh women are now targeted. So you know it's okay for them to target the Sikh temple. But imagine, let me ask a question before I go. Imagine if I sent this exact same put this comment up, yeah, but I changed the word to mosque instead of gurdwara, and I changed the word to Muslim ladies into the Sikh ladies, and all I did was to say ask Islam about does it allow pornography, and then write down a Muslim woman's name and their contact details, uh, and what would happen to me. Guess underneath. I'm pretty sure um, I'd either be dead, uh, or you know my house would probably get burned down, or you know I'd be lynched. Maybe I'd even be stoned. I think maybe stoning. Yeah, let's do the stoning because I think that's what they probably enjoy the most. Anyway, I am kidding as well, but you know it just shows you their kind of level of hypocrisy. They think it's completely fine to attack my local Sikh temple. But anyone says anything against them, they're crying and bitching and wetting their panties all the time. Anyway, I'm going to be off. I didn't want to distract too much, so I will be there on Sunday. And please, if there's any Afghan Sikhs that want to come down and talk to me um, about this issue, I'd love to do that, and we can kind of highlight what's going on in Afghanistan. Anyway, take care.